Pleased to say I've got Trudy Feeney with me, who represents the Waste Services and Street Scene. And I think the fact that we're here together speaks volumes about Bristol's approach to street art, that we're working together on this. As local authority officers, we are expected to remain objective and impartial in our jobs and politically neutral, but I'm going to buck that trend just for a minute and say that I live in a place called St Werburgh's in Bristol. St Werburgh's is an area which has got quite a lot of street art. It has an ever-changing wall of street art on my way to work, and the sides of many people's homes are adorned with art pieces. I love street art. Okay, I personally value its contribution to my sense of place and the identity of where I live, and I think it helps engender a sense of community. So that's me. Okay, I'm laying a stake in the ground and saying this is my view on it. However, as a local government officer, I do have to try to reel that in sometimes to see the other side of the story. And part of that story is See No Evil, which we've kind of touched on, which I want to talk a little bit about. It's been held for 2 years, 2011 and 2012, and it was a council and external event organiser partnership. And I'm trying to avoid too much jargon, so if I say something you don't know, just tell me and I'll try and make sense of it. Now, Ruth Essex came here a couple of months ago, I think it was, and when was it?
Probably a couple of
years ago now, right, there we are, time's moved on. And she'd been developing the notion of free walls, taking advantage of hoardings at building sites, visible spaces for street artists to use, and St Werburgh's was identified as one of those areas. So I saw that, I saw it all happening. It was amazing, to see this happen. The narrative between all these different artists over the last 6 years has been something very interesting to see. So See No Evil wasn't a new concept to Bristol. Upfest, which we've covered, takes place in Southfield, which is another part of Bristol. It's quite a long way for me to walk to get to it. And it was already showcasing street art, using the sides of buildings and shop shutters along North Street as visible places to showcase local talent. And within my remit of site permissions, I was working with the Upfest curators and organisers to help support that development and growth, and it's certainly grown over the last couple of years. It's now a key part of Bristol's calendar of outdoor events, and something that we treasure and we wouldn't want to lose. Upfest provided a lot of input and support into See No Evil, with famous Bristol artists and friend of Banksy, Inky was the lead, with Team Love, Dave Harvey and my personal friend Tom Play delivering the wider festival, which was really linking it into street art being part of street parties and the very prominent DJ electronic and music culture that Bristol's very proud of, and kind of finding its core roots together and linking them, finding a synergy in all of that. Now, arguably 2011 had the greatest impact. It completely transformed Nelson Street from an area that you ran through, or you just looked down and you didn't look up, to an area which had a very strong sense of place and a real strong sense of identity. Now, these are hard things to quantify. So when you're looking at measuring success, these are hard things to kind of come to a figure, but it very much transformed that part of the city and linked different areas of the city together. It wasn't an easy project to deliver. There was a lot of attitudinal changes that had to go through. There was risk aversion that had to be overcome, changing budgets, and it really did need a strong sense of leadership. And Bristol at that time had a placemaking manager in post that was trying to spearhead this. It was kind of, whenever we come across those council officers, and I've been one before that goes, oh no, I don't like any change, and I don't like to get out of my comfort zone, and I want to just keep things how it is. We'd find ways to circumvent them and get things moving forward. Arguably, that was successful. And it put street art at the heart of Bristol's identity, defined its difference from some of the other core cities, and made a really bold statement about Bristol's approach to counterculture. However, it did open up debates about appropriateness and ownership, and those debates are still ongoing now. I don't think we'll ever resolve them, to be honest. I think we'll go around in circles with those ones. With the 2012 event, saw the event gaining funding from the Arts Council England, Cultural Olympiad, and the council supported it. Which was much more about kind of taking on board the lessons learned from last year and making huge improvements. One of the big improvements was trying to get female artists involved, because there was a real strong sense that it was a very sort of male-driven culture, and trying to make that visibility of female street artists on there. Now, oddly, the public picked up on one artistic piece of a topless young woman, and that started a debate about the relevance and intention of the piece. And a piece originally of a burning car was removed at the request of the police. It wasn't on their property though, so they can understand the reason for that. So in 2013, See No Evil has had its time. Nelson Street is now rapidly being developed, and it has been viewed as a success in itself because of the redevelopment that's going on. That was the aim of it, so people started taking notice of this place that was almost invisible because you just went straight through it. Tourists and cameras were a daily sight, and it can still be seen taking pictures of what's left of the artwork that's above Taggart level, because there was still a lot of tagging that went on. But a lot of buildings are being taken down now. A lot of people Snapchatting, big diggers, just taking huge chunks out of walls and artwork at the moment. It's quite a sight to see. Most people, I think, are happy with the remaining artwork, and a pop-up shop now exists promoting it, and the value of street art and tours are now being created, which incorporate Bristol Street and some of the back seas and some of the other works and stuff. So go on. It's not all good news though. Since the 2011 event, complaints about tagging have doubled, with a marked increase after the 2012 event. Tagging is mostly found in the city area of St Paul's, which is near St Werburgh's. And after the 2011 event, the site was left largely unmanaged, and as it didn't have a distinct lack of signage or signposting as to what the artwork was, and in some cases its relevance was lost from a casual passer-by. So there was sort of context to some of the work that was there. To some extent this was rectified in 2012 with stencils on the pavement which treated Nelson Street as a gallery in itself. So people were much more framed about how to view the art and what its benefit was. So the challenges we face are the ongoing staffing reductions, the transformations and the great uncertainty that face local authorities. Indeed, the role of local authorities is being questioned and redefined, with fiscal policy often at the forefront of key decision making. Times are tough in the arts sector, let's be honest, but it does offer an opportunity to redefine and reshape policy. And perhaps we need to be asking questions about the makeup of those neighbourhood partnerships. In my experience, may not be yours, but they tend to be middle-aged, white, well-educated and semi-retired people, which maybe doesn't reflect the true diversity of Bristol. So when we're asking for people's opinions about street art, is that a true reflection of the true value of art in the city? So I'll finish by saying, in Bristol we can see the tradition continued in areas such as Stokes Croft. We have more legal walls going up, and the development of the Bear Pit, which was an area which, thanks to the People's Republic of Stokes Croft, and the curation they've got going there has been a major factor in transforming a very run-down, quite dangerous, crime-ridden site. And while at times controversial, comes meant to be about the swastika incident and that side of this, I'll tell you all about that. It's very much a big part of what makes Bristol, Bristol.
So my side of it is generally removing tagging, and but I do work closely with community groups, and they're always looking for artists and ways of improving their area because of the tagging. So street art is quite important because it is seen as a way of reducing tagging and improving in an area. And there's lots of community groups that are doing work, getting their own funding to fund artists and work with the local children and local residents. There's also other groups, on the other hand, that paint out all their tagging in street art. They get their own funding to buy paint and that. And in the main shopping area of Gloucester Road, they do lots of removing of tagging themselves and painting out. So I do lots of work with those groups. So I see both sides of it. Street art can be very positive in removing the damage that the taggers do in the city, but it's an ongoing battle all the time. It doesn't stop.